Hi, and welcome to Mrs. Pam Reads. Today, we are continuing in our story, Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella. And I did look this time. This is part 2, section 10. And we left them, Ray and J.D. Salinger, just having seen or heard go the distance, or at least Ray has. Salinger has not acknowledged that at this point. But then Ray got distracted and got whacked in the head on a pole and in the emergency room and stitches and all the things. But now they're in the car ride back to Salinger's house in Vermont. So Ray is babbling on, nothing new there. The interview was mainly about baseball. Don't you remember talking about baseball? The interviewer asked you a question about what you would have liked to be if you hadn't been a writer. When I was a kid, you replied, I wanted more than anything else in the world to play baseball at the polo grounds. Over the years, I've spent an inordinate amount of time thinking about that dream of yours and about you being locked away like a hermit on top of a hill in New Hampshire. I saw myself grow too old for the dream, you went on, saw the Giants move across a continent to San Francisco, and finally they tore down the polo grounds in 1964. I cried when I read that interview. If you want to know the truth, I couldn't help myself. I admit I'm overly sentimental about baseball, but it appeared that you were too. I read that passage thousands of times, smiling sadly at the thought that you must love the game as much as I do. That's why I leaped at the chance to come here and take you to a baseball game, even if I might have ended up in jail because of it. Now, how can you say you don't remember? Salinger is now looking at me with genuine concern. Okay, so you want to remember Salinger's the driver at this point because Ray has been in the hospital. I don't know how to tell you this since you claim to know so much about me. I thought you'd know. I almost never give interviews. That's not to say that people don't try. I have some persistent lunatics removed from my driveway, and they babble to the police while they're being driven away. They get 2 words from a grocery clerk or a gas station attendant, and then write and publish an exclusive interview. I always know about it because 1,000 or so people send me copies. Did you send me one from your Iowa City press whatever? Yes, I mumbled. For some reason, people out there think I'll wither away and die if I don't see every word that's written about me, no matter how bizarre. Do you know I'm supposed to have 6 wives and 21 children, and that I service my wives only for the purpose of procreation? Yes, I whisper again. I stopped reading the reports years ago. I don't even want to imagine what they're saying about me now. But I assure you, I never gave an interview about baseball. Those are very touching words you quoted. The writer must have had a better than average imagination. Then you don't. I can feel my insides slipping away as if they are on a greased slide. Baseball is not a passion in my life. I've attended a few games years ago. I occasionally watch one on TV. I read the papers. glance at the standings. I'm really sorry, I say. Salinger tenses a little. I've caused you a lot of problem for nothing. He shakes his head, waves a long white-fingered hand in a conciliatory gesture. It wasn't just the baseball game. I wanted it to be a metaphor for something else, perhaps trust or freedom or ritual or faithfulness or joy or any of the other things that baseball can symbolize. I only wanted to make you happy. I feel myself choking up as I say it. You don't know how those words affected me, I go on. I was the line, it was the line they tore down the Polo Grounds in 1964 that got me. Those words flew off the printed page, hovered in the air, assumed the shape of a gray bird, and landed on my shoulder. I reached up and picked off the bird and held it in my hand, tiny and pulsing, pressed it hard against my chest, and it disappeared like mist. If I were to open my shirt and you looked closely, you could see its faint silver outline on my skin. The rest of the trip back is thick with silence. We are both exhausted. I slump, dozing, defeated, as Salinger drives with two hands on the wheel. We stop for gas and coffee. Salinger is reluctant to enter the cafe, although I am the one people will look at. I reassure him and am relieved to be right. No one even glances at him. Salinger dips into his jeans and pays for the coffee. His mountain is blue with moonlight as we arrive at the foot of the driveway. The high windows of Salinger's home glow like mirrored sunglasses in the cloudless night. I wish I had your passion for baseball, Salinger says. However misdirected it may be, it is still a passion. If I had my life to live over again, I'd take more chances. I'd want more passion in my life, less fear, and more passion, more risk. Even if you fail, you've still taken a risk. I could come back again, I say. It wouldn't have to be baseball, a movie, a concert. I wouldn't mind. No, you keep on listening to your voices, even if they're wrong. Keep on doing what it is you do. Another time here, there would be no thrill in it for you. Keep on taking risks. He opens the driver's door and light floods the interior. I enjoyed the baseball game. I'll read the statistics with a little more interest from now on. His speech sounds like a spoken bread and butter note. He bends down and looks closely at the car registration, which is strapped to the steering wheel column in a tiny leather and plastic holder. Just checking, he says. I have a natural suspicious nature, you know. Ray Kinsella, you puzzle me very much. He adds, shaking his head. No one is more puzzled than I am, I say. Is this some kind of penance you're doing? I've never thought of it that way, but perhaps it is. Oh, how I wish you could see my baseball park. I've built it all with my own hands. I'm not a carpenter. I'm not even competent when it comes to mechanical things. I feel desperate for someone else to see my creation, my mother. I would like to show it to her. Let her see what I have brought to life. Have her be there when my catcher gets to play with the White Sox, as I know he will. What I've brought to life is much, much more than one tiny bird. There is a magic about it, I say. You have to be there to feel the magic. What is this magic you keep talking about? It's the place and the time, the right place and right time. Iowa is the right place, and the time is right too. a time when all the cosmic tumblers have clicked into place and the universe opens for a few seconds or hours and shows you what is possible. And what do you see? What do you feel? Your mind stops, hangs, suspended like a glowing Chinese lantern, and you feel a sensation of wonder, of awe, a tingling, a shortness of breath. And then you not only see, but hear and smell and taste and touch whatever is closest to your heart's desire. Your secret dreams that grow over the years like apple seeds sown in your belly grow up through you in leafy wonder and finally sprout through your skin, gentle and soft and wondrous. And they breathe and have a life of their own. You've done this a time or two. Is it always the same? It is, and it isn't. The controlling fantasy is the same. The baseball stadium, the Chicago White Sox, Shoeless Joe Jackson. But the experiences are different. Baseball games are like snowflakes and fingerprints. No two are ever the same. He has moved slowly away, reluctantly, it seems to me. He stops at the rear of his own vehicle and makes a motion of pitching an imaginary baseball to me where I stand outside the passenger door of my Datsun. I have my hand raised in a gesture of farewell when he says softly, New York Giants, 1905, 1 game, 1 inning. You know, I accused him. No. What would I know? About the scouting trip. Somehow you know. That's why you're hedging about saying goodbye. When did it happen? At the game? In the car? When you were walking down to the first aid room? I have no idea. Moonlight Graham, I say. Chisholm, Minnesota. Did you see one line out of the player register of Baseball Encyclopedia flashed on the scoreboard tonight? Salinger is shaking his head, but the marveling look on his face, I can tell that he did. We were the only ones who saw it. You must know that. It was in the 7th inning, just after Carlton Fisk struck out. It was, did you hear the voice too? Salinger glances at me, then looks away. It's all right to admit it. It was my own private ballpark announcer. It's all right. He told me to find you. Salinger looks as if he might be facing a TV camera. He speaks slowly and clearly. Only his eyes blinking rapidly betray his feelings. Highly disturbed persons often feel that they are receiving direct and personal messages from TV, radio, billboards, and roadsides. His voice runs down like a record player after it has just been unplugged. A smile spreads over his leathery face. He advances a step toward me. You know, I shout. Something, says Salinger quickly. What thing? That we're going to Minnesota. How do you know? Salinger stares around at the dark, listening trees. Somewhere deep in the foliage, something moves. A brief swishing of leaves. The announcer, he says quietly, go the distance. I knew it, I crow triumphantly. You heard him too. I want you to tell me everything you know about this. Tell me the story of Shoeless Joe Jackson again. I want to hear it again and listen more closely. And about how and why you came to get me. While we travel, I'll tell you all I know. My head seems to have stopped aching. Do you want to get a change of clothes, some books. Annie and I read to each other while we travel. Some paper, your typewriter? No. And it is as though I have sneezed on him or breathed in his face, and he has caught some of my energy. I'm afraid that if I walk up that driveway, all this madness will disappear. Okay, let's roll, I say. He hesitates for a few seconds. His feet stutter towards his Jeep. I'll leave a note. A pause. No, I won't. And he moves to the Datsun. On the way, I'll tell you a story about Moonlight Graham, what I know about him, and Shoeless Joe Jackson, and my father, and the kidnapping of Jerome David Salinger. We are happy as children with bats over shoulders, gloves dangling on their way to a sandlot. I release the brake and let the car roll down the moon-dappled hill. Ooh, and that's the conclusion of part 2. So next video, apparently this is about Moonlight Graham, part 3. Oh, well, wait a minute. Is that where I have to stop? I must have to stop there. Let me see how long we've been reading. I don't know. Okay, well, I'm going to say we're stopping right there because it's a good stopping spot. All right, you guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope I haven't been too confusing in my confusion, but hey, I got the section right this time. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.